got Amanda. We got John. Flair stands for Liberation and Resistance Everywhere, and we're honored to have multiple impactful resistors here with us today, including also Kira from Citizens Impeachment, leading the movement on the Hill, direct lobbying with Flair. So a lot of cool people coming together, focusing on resistance. So we're just gonna have a little like informal meet and greet and talk, and discuss with everyone here out in social media space as well as here present about how do we resist better, right? Right? How do we resist? And historians are. It makes sense to ask a historian, how do we resist better? So I just wanted to sincerely though thank you everyone for coming just for this little event, and a lot of us are going to be going to Tad Stoermer's book signing / event / talk with
Karen.
Karen, and we have Karen. Karen here, Attiah, right? So a lot of resistors. Who else here? An introduction for some of the other creators and influencers, yes, right? We got Kris Goldsmith.
What's going on, everybody? Kris Goldsmith, founder of Veterans Fighting Fascism, also the president of Valor Media Network. Both organizations here to support you.
Yeah, thank you. Who else we got? We got
Everybody.
Lex, the president of 5051 DC. Lex.
Also the cameraman, I know.
Also the cameraman. Wave hi. There we go, everyone. We've also got, well, they got Lime Accordion, folks.
I called Congress.
She called Congress, yeah. Listen, we need it all, every lane. Shaming Congress to do their jobs, right? Utilizing the First Amendment to do their job. That's what it's all about. We've also got
Angry Male Vet.
Angry
Veterans Fighting Fascism.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves?
I'm Buck. If you know me as Josh the Truck.
Hell yeah, bro. Thanks for everyone being here. We also got some other folks from Free DC. Oh, I forgot to mention Tori from Flair, and who else?
Nick Parro.
Nick Parro,
Hey.
sick of the shit publications and Veterans Fighting Fascism.
Hell yeah. And we actually have my opinion, a constitutional scholar. We got Rick for Dictator here. Rick, listen. Rick knows almost every member on the Hill. He cares about this country. He's empathetic, and his angle actually is a constitutional angle. Constitutional amendment angle where you get enough states involved to kick Trump out. There's an angle there, right, Rick?
Yeah. One of the representatives from Maryland yesterday told me he was going to talk to the governor about it yesterday.
So you're connecting with a lot of folks on the Hill as well as governors to get Trump out.
And I'm endorsed for dictator.
Yeah, check out rickfordictator.com. He's an empathetic dictator. All right. Very much like Vermin Supreme.
But I'm not joking.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay? I have been endorsed for dictator of the United States.
Absolutely. No, seriously, he is serious. He has been endorsed.
5 members of Congress.
Yeah. No joke. It's true.
That's how messed up it is.
Yeah, correct. Little tongue in cheek, but not at the same time. Not at all.
I mean,
Anyway, yeah.
laugh all
I was
you
gonna
want,
say,
but
I'm done talking. But Tad, do you want to come up and just give us some insight?
If you were doing just a fine job.
I'm just Flair. We got Tad in the house and we got Karen in the house.
Yeah.
A bunch of other cool people in the house. So.
Well, I mean, it's not just you got me and Karen. I mean, this is a nice core of what resistance means in America right now. Not just what we're resisting against, but what we're resisting for.
Right.
I mean, I think that we've all got an idea of kind of what abuse of authority means. We can look at the Prairie Land Defendants. 8 people, none of whom never knew each other before they showed up at a protest. One of whom didn't even show up at the protest. Convicted out of thin air of domestic terrorism and conspiracy. 100 years, 70 years, 50 years 5 times, 30 years for someone who was carrying a box after the fact because they were related to a form of protest these guys don't want you engaged in. And that is part of a pattern in American history. You can protest within our permitted channels as long as you don't threaten them. As long as your protest doesn't have the hope of changing anything, then you can do it their way and they'll sanction it and they'll be happy for you. The minute that you start threatening their hold on that authority is the minute they come down on you like this. This is almost unprecedented in American history. the kind of sentences they laid out. It's not just a chilling effect. This is a sledgehammer about what it means. These are death sentences they laid out. Now we can say that there's a probability, there's a possibility that that it'll be overturned on appeal. They're still in jail right now. There still is the massive impact right now. 100 years, 70 years, 50 years 5 times, 30 years for carrying a box, wearing a black hoodie, having signal on your phone. How many of you have black hoodies? How many of you have signal on your phone right now? How many of you are sitting right here? Karen is a walking, talking threat to this regime, right? But so when we're thinking about, well, what are we resisting against? We don't need to think about in abstractions. We don't even need to think about what happened 6 months ago. We can think about what happened yesterday. We can think about what's happening right now over there. Right now over there. You know, as Dave pointed out to me, that this is not an America 250 event. This is not a congressionally sanctioned event. This is a Freedom 250 event, a private group celebrating their version of what makes America great, their version of America 250. And in doing this work, it's understanding that abuse of authority is exactly what's been flowing through our history the whole damn time. These people have decided what their America is. They're going to celebrate their anniversary of their America, and their America is one that excludes everybody else. Your Constitution stops at that fence. Your First Amendment rights stop at that fence. They don't apply going into their version of America and what they're celebrating. And so when we think about not just what we're resisting against, and we see those examples every single day, and they are carrying a higher and higher price tag, the next part is what you're resisting for. Right? It can't just be, well, we have all of these grievances, as great and as clear as those grievances might be. It's about what do we want to achieve on the other side of that? What do we want to make sure about having a more equal society? What does that look like? What work is that doing for us? And I think Blair's got a great approach to this. And also, what you're doing has a great approach to it, that it's not just, impeachment is important. Yeah, what do you want? Regime change. What do you want it right fucking now? Except, it's not that easy. Right? That is a necessary starting point. Voting is a necessary starting point. But the minute we think that any of these things are sufficient to in fact achieve the kind of change that so many of you and all the people I talk to say they want to achieve, they're not asking for the moon, Americans aren't. They're asking to be safe. They're asking to be equal. They're asking to be able to secure their rights. The reason why the Declaration of Independence tells us that governments are instituted to secure these rights. And why does the right of resistance exist? It's the least talked about right articulated in the Declaration. The right of the people to alter and abolish a government that has become destructive of these ends. This is part of the alter before we even have a conversation about the abolish. We have a chance to alter. That's what the resistance is for. And to see so many people like Angry Male Vet, right? Veterans Fighting Fascism, all of these people, what Kris is doing, Valor Media, what Karen is doing personally and with resistance studies, to in fact connect with people to learn about how you push back as an individual, how you work collectively, how you in fact inform yourself, to do all of those things that we know that historically in American history resistance works. You got to force the fight, you got to act collectively, you got to engage in force multipliers. It's only together that we can achieve any of those things. Resistance doesn't come from the top down. It can only come from the bottom up, because it's about trust and it's about personal values and the values that we share and how we articulate them to each other, so you know that we share those values. And that is all a part of a process. And to sort of understand how that takes a particular form in American history and American political culture, because we got forces operating against us in this that you barely know about. Because if everything has to be ratified by the founders, if everything has to be approved by a James Madison quote, if everything has to be you have to refer back to a standard set in 1776 or 1787 as both the floor and the ceiling of all possible change. If it ain't ratified by them, who cares what Frederick Douglass said? Who cares what Alice Paul said? Who cares what Malcolm X said? James Madison didn't say it. And so if you have to be ratified by that, we are stuck in that conversation. And there are all kinds of people here, patriotic Americans who deeply love our country, served our country as journalists, served our country as veterans, served our country in combat, right? But these are folks, all of you are a part of that story. a part of serving America. And so, didn't mean to turn that into a speech, but in terms of coming together here and why I think it's critical and why it's so important that you are what you all represent and what you each represent. Whether you're part of the team that's keeping Flair going, whether you're informing yourselves about what it is that we're doing here and how to do it, right? Whether you're reaching out to candidates to hold them accountable to these standards, whether you're reaching out to current members of Congress to make sure you're holding them accountable. Part of what Flair is doing is ongoing accountability, sort of as we established, the longest ongoing protest against Trump in America, here. That says something about holding people accountable, their feet to the fire, understanding that every single day, 24/7 right here, is a reminder that this is nowhere near done, it's not even begun. And you got to get on board with that. So to that, I just want to say I thank you for all that you're doing here. Thank you for Flair.
Thanks.
And thank you.
Yo,
Hand it over to Karen, and then we'll go
I mean, how can I follow up with that? Like tag, whenever you start your church, when you are senior pastor, yo, I'm gonna be the first one. No, I was great, and it's getting my gears turning. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know, my name is Karen Attiah. Gosh, what might people know me for? I was a long-time Washington Post journalist, editor, columnist. A lot of people might know of me from, I was the editor who hired Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi journalist who was murdered in 2018 in Istanbul by the Saudi regime. This is around the time when at the Post, at least I would say, we were symbols of press freedom and what it looked like to defend journalists, and by extension, what it looked like at the Post to be Americans standing for the defense of press freedom and the right to expression. So many people might know me for my advocacy there. I became a columnist writing on race, gender, and human rights in 2021. All that came to an abrupt end in September of last year. Those who've been following the trajectory of the Washington Post know that dear owner Jeff Bezos has taken an abrupt right turn, began censoring the Washington Post opinion section, prevented a planned Harris endorsement editorial from going through. So the writing was on the wall for American journalism. I long argued that the Washington Post very, very, very much was a canary in the coal mine for what is happening to the rest of American media right now when it comes to the oligarchy, the techno-fascists taking over our media institutions. So for me, in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk killing, I did what I always do, which is to comment on America's myths, I would say, when it comes to political violence. The political violence has no place here. This is not who we are. Me as a writer, I hate bullshit in general, and I hate myth-making, and I hate empty rhetoric. So of course, I was going to talk about, sadly, this is who we are. We looked at what happened in Minnesota, with the lawmakers, Melissa Horton being shot, and her husband being shot, and her dog being killed, and America shrugged and moved on, right? And for the crime of saying that part of what keeps America so violent in particular is coddling and performing empty care and goodness for white men who espouse violence, I was accused of gross misconduct. I was accused of being a physical safety threat to my colleagues, and I was terminated without an email or any sort of conversation. So, just in all of this, and for those who might have also seen, I was teaching on race and media at Columbia around the time that Columbia was acquiescing to the Trump administration on DEI and restrictions on teaching on race, restrictions on what we could say about Gaza, all of that. My class was canceled, and that is where I decided to take matters into my own hands and teach race and media myself, and thus the beginning of the Resistance Summer School, in which now, a year later, we've taught 1,200 people so far, with myself and a crew of Avengers. So my whole thing in all of this, and we'll get back to the part about journalism and the myths and the stories that we tell ourselves, it is no surprise to me that the administration linking with their, I don't call it caving to the administration, I call it being accomplices to power, to particularly white power, and the speed at which that they're aligning with technology is frightening. Is frightening. It is not lost on me, obviously, as a black woman journalist. There are very, 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 very few of us in these media spaces. I happen to be the last black full-time staff columnist left at the Washington Post. There are now none. And that was done without any hesitation, any thought, any shame anymore. So when we get into discussion, what happens when the line, the defense of shame, of public shame, of doing the right thing now is no longer an asset that we can depend on anymore, right? When when frankly white male patriarchy is reasserting itself in a terrifying way, certain, not all one, but so now I'm fighting back against the Post. Decided to force the fight against them. Headed to arbitration, union strong as well. So I'm, have been actively relying. I'm not just doing it alone. I'm realizing that this fight is not just about me with the Washington Post. It's not even just about the Washington Post. It's also about enforcing at least these legal mechanisms, that contract between the Post and the people who make the Post what it is, which are the journalists. And so I couldn't walk away from this without, to an extent, saying, all right, here's a chance for us to enforce this, all right, and hopefully force them to respect this. I'm still processing how I've went from being a columnist at a prestigious newspaper to being a lone radical headmistress, and martial artist as well. But what I've been learning in my short stint so far in exile is it sounds so cliche, but is the power of the people. I mean, it's hundreds of people said, hey, yes, we want to resist by learning the things that they're trying to prevent us from learning, right? I think it's very interesting to see a lot of journalists in my circles actually either going back to school or like being like, yo, we gotta write like our lives depend on it to right now before, because in history, part of how power protects itself is that it erases the parts of history that don't serve the myths, right? I'm very well aware that in Washington Post history, what is going on with Bezos, with me, with cutting almost half the newsroom could be wiped from history, right? So I think part of why, even me continuing to write or continuing to teach is to, like, from a very personal and spiritual level, refuse to be erased yourself, right? To force the fight by writing yourself back into memory, right? So I spend my time thinking a lot about that. Again, it's not lost on me that I think very much so there's an assault on black voices. There's an assault on black voices in the public sphere, in the corporate sphere, in the journalism sphere. I can count on my one hand the amount of black women specifically who are public opinion makers, right? I don't think that's a coincidence, given how much power, say, Black Lives Matter, given how much power even the symbol of Obama and Michelle Obama, ruling this country. I think we underestimated how much for a lot of people, that was when democracy broke for them. That this is the system. They, in their minds, they're seeing this is the correction to Me Too, to marginalized people finally being able to enter the public spheres in ways that they couldn't control as much. So now we're seeing the lick back, right? Go ahead, sit down.
Yeah.
So yes, I'll talk about this later tonight, but I so appreciate how finally people are, I don't think we have a choice, because a lot of these myths, ignoring them is killing us, killing people. This myth that America has always been good, has always been great, is, particularly in my field with journalism, the both sidesism we had to deal with, the tendency to side with authority, with power, and to be suspicious, particularly of left movements, particularly of liberal movements. I've long criticized, and now we are where we are, aren't we? So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Like I said, I'm wearing many hats in terms of I'm continuing to write, continuing to teach, continuing to be honest, to rest. Like this is going to be a long ass fight.
Strap in.
Yeah, pretty much. So looking at how we all find who our allies are, right, and how we all find our pockets of, to an extent, pockets of joy while we do this. And like I'm seeing everyone's got something that they can do. Right. So right now, what I can do is teach and give the post the business, the 1-2 special, and we're hoping for we feel good about it. We're gonna get a decision about whether or not I might be reinstated at the post in a few weeks, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm so happy to be here, so happy to be in community with y'all, to get to meet so many of y'all that I've only seen on the internet, and how important it is to do the real life stuff. Like, how important it is to be like, okay, like you actually have to put some like kind of muscle and effort into getting to know people, getting to know the neighbors, and amplifying each other's stories. So
How are the people in real life?
in real life, like we gotta, and I'd love to talk to you about this, about what you think about technology and social media and how that either amplifies things, but I think so much of what I'm seeing is just having to learn community, like having to learn like a certain type of militaristic discipline to this, right? Like it's not just all vibes.
Right.
We're not going to win on vibes. We need resources, we need discipline, and all that. Yeah, but you have a question.
My comments want to know where they can find you.
Where they can find me? On the internet? Okay. In the ether, I'm at Karen Attiah on Instagram, on Substack. I'm writing on the Golden Hour on Substack. So I started, Resistance Summer School, but Resistance Studies series is where we're having our courses in a wide array of programming and salons. So that is resistancestudiesseries.com. And I'm on all the things. Yeah. Thanks. Awesome.
I don't know how I drew this short. You got both
No
going
pressure,
out
man.
there. Professors.
Save the best for last.
Yeah.
Sure. No pressure. So, guys, my name is Kris Goldsmith. I'm the founder of Veterans Fighting Fascism, Task Force Butler Institute, president of Valor Media Network, and I used to be a lobbyist. I used to work for a veteran service organization. Not a lobbyist like you might have just imagined in your head, though I did have to wear a suit. I wasn't paid like that. And I got to learn how our democracy worked, at least from that perspective. And I spent a few years doing that, and I absolutely loved it. And I wish that more people outside of DC, of this bubble, got the opportunity to come here and see the things that I have seen in this city. This kind of protest, I don't think that you can fully feel it without actually traveling. I know that, the folks at home watching this, not everybody has the money to travel. I get it. There are a lot of people who do, and who just haven't taken the step because they haven't felt like it was necessary. I want to encourage you to start feeling like it's necessary. There's a problem there are many problems with the way that the United States was created, right? We're a highway system. There's no mass transit to get in and out of the nation's capital like there is virtually everywhere in Europe, for example, right? There are physical systems that stop us from being more connected with our fellow citizens, with people from all over the country and all over the world. I've had conversations today about how in visiting DC, my friends are like, holy shit, I'm walking into a room and there are people speaking all sorts of different languages that I don't get exposed to back home. As a New Yorker, I feel like I'm blessed that that's always been part of my life. But I think that we would be far better off if more Americans took that opportunity just to do the thing. And there's no better excuse than to come to DC for the purpose of seeing what exists now, because it's not promised, it's not guaranteed. Yes, these buildings are made of stone, but the things that they represent are changing rapidly. We walked by the Department of Labor a little while ago today. There's a 40-foot banner of dear leader's face hanging from it. And to make it feel more appropriate, they hung him next to Teddy Roosevelt. To make it feel like, oh, this is not Putin's Russia. This is not Kim Jong-il's North Korea. This is just us celebrating more than one president.
I love it, baby.
We know that's not the case, right? There is a cult that has sadly taken over much of the capital, much of the country. But we are still the majority. We still do have a democracy, as imperfect as it functions. It's still here. And what we need to do, people who are here today, the people who are watching at home, is we need to motivate more folks to recognize that you can make progress. The goal of the fascists, the goal of the authoritarian is to exhaust you. It is to make you feel powerless. It is to make you feel hopeless. Find hope in you. I walked into this gathering today knowing, 5 people maybe? I've made new friends today. I've made new friends who I will continue to organize and work with and collaborate with. It's that community that the Trump administration and every fascist before and after him are trying to strip from us. It's as simple as doing the thing, stepping outside, going to your free little library, whether it's here in DC or around the corner from your house at home. It's about starting a book club. If you don't know where to get started with organizing, I want to encourage you to go to veteransfightingfascism.org. We have created a free guide on how you can create your own book club. We set up 6 meetings worth of materials, question and answers, leadership guides, so that any person can come and take it. You've got the instruction manual. The goal after 6 meetings is you no longer need Veterans Fighting Fascism. You don't need Kris Goldsmith anymore, because you've got your clique, you've got your friends, you've got things in common now, right? You can create these groups from a Facebook group. It doesn't matter if you're a red dot in the middle of Idaho. You've got access to the internet if you're watching this right now, right? You've got the tools that you need to connect with people locally enough that you can be in the same place. We have spent the last 10 years getting pummeled with, first it was Donald Trump on Twitter, now he's got Truth Social. We've seen, after over a decade, cable news largely hasn't figured out how to stop getting duped into spreading Trump's messaging, right? We can turn off the TV, get in the car, get on a plane, get on a train, walk down the street, go to a coffee shop, go to a bar, whatever your vibe is, and just read. Just open up a book with a friend and discuss what you're doing. It'll feel good. The reason that Veterans Fighting Fascism has as one of its very first things on the list, On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder, is because it's teeny tiny. It's a little book. You can finish it in one sitting. And the dopamine hit that you get from finishing a book will encourage you to do more, right? So if you feel like it is too much of a commitment, you feel like you can't convince yourself to do it, start small. Start with those little steps. You want to make sure that you are rewarding yourself. And to finish, to accomplish a task, no matter how minor, you are training your brain that you are rewarding yourself. And that is perpetual. That allows you to grow, not just internally, not just with your knowledge, not just with your values and your morals as they evolve over time, as you learn more about our imperfect history. It allows you to build those relationships, those more complicated relationships with other people. He's doing this on purpose. With other people who might be feeling the same way, who might be feeling like they haven't done enough and therefore they shouldn't even start. Start with a book. You can start with Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny because it's teeny tiny. That'll give you the dopamine hit that you need to take on Tad's book.
Not one sitting.
Which is not one sitting. Or you could skip to
That's
the back.
Chip's fault. My editor's here. That's Don't blame me.
And for anyone who hasn't bought, give it a second. For anyone who hasn't seen Tad's book yet, I want to encourage you to maybe buy 2. I am someone who likes intact books that look nice. But, and I've talked to Tad about this, he wrote his book so that it would be destroyed. I am taking my second book and I am ripping out the back. The back has a nice little manual on resistance. That's all I need. I want the On Tyranny sized, pocket sized book that I can literally carry around with me anytime, anywhere, right? So, I didn't mean to do a speech. Here we are.
It's a stage. It has
First
to be.
Amendment, baby. First Amendment.
You got that voice,
First
use it.
Amendment.
There we go.
I'm feeling inspired.
We're on a stump here, right?
I want to thank everybody here. I mean, physically for showing up. Everybody watching for caring.
Yeah.
Caring is the thing. Like that is the first step, and most people still don't care. When they're polled, they care. When they're polled, they're asked. They're like, oh, I don't approve, right? But are they doing anything? Are they showing up? Are they saying anything? Most people are still not. And through example, through showing them, hey, it's worth a trip to DC to see them build fucking fences and cages as we're talking. This'll help. This'll help put everything in perspective for you. So, Tad, Karen,
Yeah.
Flair,
Thank you,
everybody,
guys.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wanted to open up the yeah.
I'm Randy.
This is Randy, one of our vets, leader vets of Flair.
So I'm Randy. I'm one of the founding members of Flair, along with Dave and Amanda and lots of others. And for people that don't know, when we founded Flair, we set it up as kind of a horizontal. Everyone is equal. We work by consensus. We work constant communication, and so everything that we do has been really thought about and vetted, and we hope we've taken the time to really do it properly and show what resistance looks like. A little bit about me. I'm also a vet, but I have a degree in international peace and conflict resolution, focusing on genocide and mass atrocity prevention. So unfortunately, I think I'm kind of well suited for this right now. So, but all of this is, we see history repeating itself over and over and over again. Just like, we have the crackdown on non-governmental organizations, just like Putin did when he solidifies his dictatorship. You have taking over of news organizations, which every authoritarian wants to do. And now we have the crackdown on the First Amendment with not just freedom of speech, but if you look at freedom of religion. Over at the Pentagon, the top chaplain was fired. And now they're not recognizing, I don't know how many different religions that aren't their specific Christian nationalism. And then, they want to, along with the First Amendment in there, is petitioning your government. If you look at like how we lobby, and when we go, like every congressperson has an office in their district that their constituents are allowed to go in. One of the barriers there is, number one, they don't advertise it where they are for security reasons. They have weird hours. They will not answer their phone, and they make it extremely difficult to get meetings. And this is designed that way so they can limit your access to government. because we can go and we can yell and scream, but where's the accountability? Yes. Kira. Yeah, please.
This is Kira from Citizens Impeachment and Courage for Democracy. It's a convo. Yeah, go
A little
ahead.
bit about actually having the capacity to get feedback, right? So
Yeah.
we help them organize the days in district and help folks get to their representatives, and we do this virtually. They send emails, they phone calls. The next time y'all call your representative, ask them what you called about the last time, because they're supposed to write this down, but I don't know where it goes. In every office is different. Maybe it's on a post-it, maybe it's on a spreadsheet. I bet you they don't actually write it down. And even if they say, oh, I know who you are, they don't know what you said last time, because the First Amendment right to address grievances with your government depends on that government actually having a record of the grievances, right? So this is a real simple step that's broken. I just thank you all so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I love that insight. And yes, that's one of the things that we've been talking about with holding people accountable. You know, the permit holder for this spot is accountability now, which is one of our basic standards. It's like we have to not only in ourselves but our government. So you can go and petition, you can yell at them, but they have they don't have to do anything, and that's what the barrier that we need to break, and that's what we have to get across to them is yes, you are accountable to your constituents, whether it's here in DC where Flair is, where we're going to be sure to hold you accountable, or if it's back in your district where your own constituents are going to hold you accountable. And now a little bit more. We do have a First Amendment case going right now. We are being represented by the ACLU. We are expecting a ruling on Monday the 29th with regard to our 8647 flag and a couple other signs that are we've been
very targeted signs. Very peaceful First Amendment oriented signs
that we've been fighting to put back up. So those are going to go back up on the 29th once we get word. So that'll be great. So I'll leave it until Monday for everyone to find out what those signs said and why the government was so pissed that these signs were up and visible from Constitution and Pennsylvania Avenue right on the president's route to the White House.
Do they have to do with files per change?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do, actually.
In more than one way. Yes.
Yeah.
Many eyes to be on.
Yeah. So with that, we can open it up to any questions.
Any questions or anyone like Kira? If you had anything more to say, like it's a pretty small group and we're doing good on time. I think. Anyone else want to just throw out a couple other things? I mean, maybe Courage for Democracy time.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat about that. Okay. Sure.
Kira's back up there.
Yeah. Hello, guys.
So not only Citizens Impeachment.
So I'm going to tell a story that kind of ties in everything together here, right? Because we're talking about watching institutions die, right? We're talking about individuals that really want to do something but maybe don't know how, and it's hard to get started. And how do you turn that into long-standing, long-lasting action, right? So when we started this as Citizens Impeachment, we said, well, we're going to talk to everybody, right? Don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You all swore the same oath I did as a veteran to support and defend the Constitution. You all are responsible for this, so you all should be doing this work. So we've drafted up an article of impeachment, got 1,000 people together to send an email at the same time to every single office. And one guy in Congress listened, took that article of impeachment and brought those articles to the floor of the House. Yeah. That was amazing. It only took 3 weeks. 3 weeks from the first launch of this to get that article on the floor of the House. There's a special rule called Rule 9 that lets any member of the House vote on articles of impeachment. If you invoke that rule, it takes 2 legislative days. That's it. That's all you got to do. They put it on the schedule, everybody votes. That's all the time it takes. So this representative wrote his impeachment resolution, brought it to the floor, invoked Rule 9, was scheduled for a vote, and 5 minutes before the vote was going to happen, leadership bullied him so hard, he pulled that resolution off the floor. And what we saw later was Al Green brought a couple of resolutions, and it started the ball rolling, but it started a conversation. And then we kept talking. All of these folks knew that Congress could move, and so they're like, well, hang on, what are you doing, right? So when folks voted against impeachment, they would pick up the phones again, and when they voted against it a second time, they would pick up the phones again. And eventually we started having meetings with all these offices and constituents, just like everybody watching, everybody here, right? We'd sit down and we would talk with staff and we would say, why aren't you doing your job? Why aren't you upholding your oath? we got through about 50 of these meetings with people. And every single one of them told us, well, we don't have the votes, we gotta wait till the midterm. We gotta get back in power, we gotta get through it. And we'd explain, you have the power right now. You can do this right now, and you're choosing not to. We don't have to wait for the midterms. But after about 50 of these, we got tired of that conversation and decided that if they weren't gonna do their jobs, we were gonna find people that would. So from citizens impeachment came Courage for Democracy. And this is a crew, just the team that was on citizens impeachment does not give up and is not willing to take no for an answer. And so we started finding candidates that were willing to say, it's time to impeach. Should not be a hard conversation, right? Very unconstitutional actions happening every day, losing massive lawsuits about how illegal and unconstitutional everything is. And the people in charge, the establishment, technically the opposition party, still refuses to make the removal of this regime a priority so we can get on to building something better. So Courage for Democracy recruited 150 candidates. We formed in January, found 150 candidates willing to commit to introducing impeachment articles, and now we're in the middle of primaries.
On day one.
On day one, yes, day one. As soon as they get in, this is something everybody can do immediately.
Yep.
We have the articles written, they can file them immediately.
Yep.
We
It
expect-
will happen.
yeah.
We have candidates that have gotten through already through primary.
But
Yep,
either way, it's the
absolutely.
answer to a basic question. Should this guy stay or should he go?
Absolutely.
And if you answer that, there's only one answer to that.
Right.
That is
And
correct.
so that's what you're getting people on the record to do.
Yes, that's right. And our next step, well, so we have 16 folks through the primaries now, at least one going to the Senate, 15 going to the House. 12 million people are going to be able to vote for Courage candidates, and we still have 40 to get through primaries. So really exciting times.
Yeah.
Please go look them up. We talk about them constantly.
And think about it, on day
Yeah.
one, there will be
Oh, yeah.
articles of impeachment filed against the
And
president.
the
It will
next-
happen.
It absolutely will. Yeah, we are real.
Jeffries isn't too thrilled, we'll say.
But here's the thing, Jeffrey's up for re-election too.
He
Yeah,
is.
he's running unopposed, but he is up for re-election,
He
so
is.
is every other incumbent here. So even though the people in power will not use their power right now, what we can do as constituents is we can go to their campaign and we can be like, hey, you gonna make a promise to me? They are not safe in their campaigning. Our motto is show up and fight. Fight everywhere, fight on every single playing field. There are people that want to fight to improve this government, to have a responsible government for the citizens. And so that's what we're at now. If you're not going to do the job, we're going to find people that will.
And that's something that everybody watching this right now can do right now.
Absolutely.
Is go ahead and go, everybody, 435 seats, everybody has a candidate, everybody has folks running for this office.
Yep.
Find out and then push, ask them, should he stay or should he go?
That's it.
That's the answer to the question. And if it's, well, he shouldn't go, I can answer that question, and he stays.
Yep. And I'll say, just as a note on how broken the system is, I do not have a background in politics. We started this 6 months ago, and we managed to find candidates in a quarter of the House races in the country. It just takes a little bit of determination and grit and a willingness to outwork, and you
Yep.
can do huge things.
And you
Yeah.
too can be a candidate too.
I mean, I'm not. Part of it is you're also helping to reduce some of the friction in or just saying all right, we've preheated
Oh yeah.
this question
Yeah, right.
ahead of time. So when midterm, it's just ready to go.
I am effectively whipping votes on impeachment now.
Yeah.
That's my job. Should be someone else's job, but it's mine.
Right.
And to one of Kris' points is about how small the organization is and how quick she started this just 6 months. Don't discount what you can do as an individual. Just a few weeks ago, we had someone just standing out here waving an 8647 flag. Middle-aged woman from Eastern Shore, Maryland, out holding her tiny little dog, waving her flag. The Secret Service stopped, turned into this whole big thing, and now we are in court getting ready for a decision that's going to set a precedent for James Comey. So that
And the rest of the Americans
and
that
the
want to
rest of you, and the First Amendment. So that one little act by one of our volunteers going out and just waving the flag. That's all it takes, and you can do that. People can do that at home. You don't have to, every single little
Climb accordion.
every single
Making calls.
little act counts. And, one of the things I'd like to bring up is after World War II, they were interviewing a lot of survivors of the Holocaust, and one of them said, I wish at the time that I would have told people that living a life is a form of resistance, having children is a form of resistance, singing songs is a form of resistance. And so that trying to live a normal life and not letting Handmaid's Tale, not letting the bastards grind you down, is we have to hold on to that. You know, you have to have you know, some sort of hope, and you have to that's going to lead you on to be a resistor. So don't discount like the power of one person.
Power to the people.
And the team, right? You gotta be able to carry the entire effort. In just our small organization, folks have had family members die. There's been kids that have been born. There's been jobs that have been lost. Like, we're all human beings and people, and there's a real, I think for a lot of activists, there's a real guilt that comes with stepping away if you have to. But if you have a crew, if you've got like a team, a big old network that is all committed to the same goal, you can take that breather, you can take that step back.
And Tad, you talk about it in your book
and
too,
they'll
where
be
like
there.
you got to have one person. You can't have a fail point there with just one person. You got to distribute.
Also, it's just like, what is the point of power in getting it if you're not going to use it?
Oh man,
right?
I ask this question all the time.
If all you want is more, or you want that next term, or you just want to keep it,
And it's something else, right? And so that there should be consequences to, my opinion, to people who are asking for your money, asking for your votes, asking for you, and not representing you.
We see this play out, so this is a really unique position in looking at the candidates running these races. We see it play out in the craziest ways. There's a representative out in California that has just told people she works with she hates the job, doesn't want it. Still ran because it's a paycheck, I guess, right? There's a representative that just didn't run, right? This is one out in New York, lost to Claire Valdez, just didn't really show up in the district. One of our volunteers that lives out there. And of course, you see all the fallout from New York about the Democrats forming a little centrist alliance to defend their turf, right? But power is for the whole point is people's house, right? It's for us. This is how we get our grievances into the record and how they're supposed to be addressed. And that is not what's happening. Very plainly.
And then you guys also, back to journalism and the media industry, right? This sense that, well, we've got pundits who say, well, but we can't go too far. Like, doing impeachment or jail or consequences, they could just use that against. So let's just be bipartisan and right. So you're also having to fight against this against the power structure and the narratives around it. Saying let's just chill. When we're saying
let's all wear our seersucker for the day and be part of Seersucker Day.
Speaking of the narrative, my comments have another question. If anyone might have an answer, they want to know how we can combat this new rhetoric around communism and trying to, on both the left and the right, trying to paint the arm that's a little more happy to resist as being something that they aren't necessarily. Or that they are, but it's not how they're painting the picture. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I don't. We've all got something to say. Well, and you're a teacher among us. You can speak to that too. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, my personal tactic, strategy, whatever you want to call it, is I simply don't address things that I want to address. I'm not going to let someone waste my time trying to convince me that up is down and left is right. It is the whether it's rhetoric or propaganda or you know, these talking points that get distributed through not just the right-wing disinformation machine, but through mainstream talking heads and press. I'm not going to have that conversation with them. I'm going to talk past them. I'm going to talk over them. I'm going to force them to change their talking points. My show, my brand is called On Offense for a reason. It's because we have spent the last 10 plus years and longer defending democracy. Defending democracy is a losing position. You need to go on offense. You can't be responsive to your opponent and have that be your only tactic or your only strategy. You have to force them to respond. If they force you to respond, they're winning. So simply changing the subject on them, forcing them to talk about what you want to talk about, that is you win.
Any insight?
So hey, if you aren't familiar with me, you can find me online. I'm Johnster Truck. My name's Jonathan Buckwalter. I'm a historian. I study Nazism and the Holocaust. And one of the things that we see that I think is really relevant to your followers' question is the use of communism as a boogeyman. This is something that all of the fascist movements of the 20s and 30s did very, very well, is they take this sort of nebulous set of beliefs about the world and sort of foist them upon, say, an ethnic minority, say, a political resistance organization. In the case of Germany in the 20s, just the Social Democrat Party, which was a rather conservative political party in the 1920s, or by the 1920s was rather conservative. And they say, oh, well, you're a communist. And so what we're seeing here is the, like, everything that doesn't like me must be communism. And it just so happens that they're all brown, or queer, or disabled, or have some other sort of minority status attached to them. And so therefore they must be communists. And this is not just unique to, say, European fascism in the 20th century. Well, if we move the timeline forward just a little bit to McCarthyism in America in the 1950s, so you have Senator McCarthy, he's over HUAC, the House Un-American Affairs Committee, and he uses the boogeyman of communism to drag Hollywood directors and civil rights activists and public educators and university professors before HUAC and just sort of drag them through the mud, ruin their reputation, destroy thousands of people's careers by accusing them of communist sympathies. So whether or not someone is a communist is irrelevant to the regime calling them a communist. And this serves a dual purpose, because one, it can tarnish the person in the moment and it can chill the speech that they're trying to do, the activism they're trying to do. On the other end, it melts language itself to say that things I don't like must be communism. And so it communicates a message of you'd better shut up to the people opposing the regime, and it communicates a permission structure to the people supporting the regime to say, oh, the people that I'm hurting are communists, and that's bad. When that person gets arrested for however many years sentence for holding a box, 30-year sentence for holding a box, well, it's okay because he was a communist. When the Black Lives Matter activists get pummeled by the police, well, it's okay because they're communists. And you lose the meaning from words, and then you chill the activism of the activists because they don't want to be associated with something that could genuinely get them murdered. Thank you.
I think that's important, like, because this is life or death stuff. Yep. Yeah. So you label someone a communist, and yeah, Kris, what you're talking about, I mean, just allowing, particularly the right has been good at putting their money where their mouths are and putting money into language and rhetoric. We've all seen Christopher Rufo literally being on Twitter, like, I'm going to make CRT and DEI a boogeyman. This is what I'm going to do. And then you have folks in my industry who are like, oh, we wonder what he's doing. We don't know. Maybe it's this, but it's like they are telling you what they're going to do, and then people act surprised when it happens. And ultimately, what that results in is you're building a permission structure to jail people, to kill them, to give them 40, 50-year sentences, to remove them, and that is why the language. I talk about language all the time, like not ceding language ground. Like if they say, even, I don't know, framing like migrant caravans or hordes of people, making people into non-human, like dehumanizing language, woke being captured. People are like, and when you're constantly on the defense, it's losing. So I think a lot of us who are wordsmiths or historians, like a lot of it is exactly that. Sometimes just being like, no, I'm not answering that. We're gonna play on my turf. Yep. That's a legit debate strategy, right? But part of it is like once they capture language, they capture imagination, then communism, Marxism, whatever they want to say, becomes stand-in for enemy. It's not about the political or whether they were progressive or not, and we can debate it. It's that they are saying this is your enemy, and they understand that whether it's sports or politics, one of the easiest ways to get people to organize and do what you want is to have a common enemy. Yep. And we need to recognize when they are creating new enemy language, whatever that looks like.
That's why it's extra concerning that it's coming from people, quote, on our team as well.
Yeah.
Well, right.
Stop that shit. Stop it.
Well, but yeah, it's pretty. It shows you what team you're infected. Right? You're right. Stop that shit. So stop that shit. Don't take the bait. Right? Don't accept the term. And the other thing is to kind of like you can't turn back on them. Is that we find it a lot when we're talking about resistance, and I get this question all the time. Is that aren't you advocating for violence? You talk about your right now.
Why can't you call it something else?
Yeah,
I don't get that.
Right.
They're like, we're scared for you to use that. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
but that's what.
Is that what you're advocating for? Right?
Force.
Yeah.
Force. I'm saying like we're using force, but force is not always violence. But it's also about, again, when you're refusing to play on somebody else's terms, you're forcing them to be on your conversational or communication level. That's, to me, that's a form of, political jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
I think one thing that's really helpful to remember too is that you're not always having the same conversation with the same words. It's
Yeah, right. I mean,
generally
that's your point, right?
Yeah, it's generally a bad faith conversation, right? And so what you're trying to do is one thing that's actually really helpful is to bring it down to the practical, personal, you can agree this is both an apple type level, right? Ask them what. Let me add a caveat here. I can get away with this because I am a nice white lady with a nice voice, right? And they will engage with the question when I'm like, oh, what are you afraid of? Yeah, like they will take that seriously. That's going to sound different coming from Karen. It's going to sound different coming from you, right? So you have to be aware of who you are, what you present as, and how you engage. And when you do that, you can actually find your strengths. And I mean, Dave and I do this all the time.
Up on the hill.
We
could suit it up and pretend like we're important, and sometimes people listen.
Yeah, every now and then, right? You've got there are different messages that can be delivered better by different people, and you need a thoughtful strategy.
But what the questioner needs to also understand is the reflection that is about who is using the language against you. Right? So we're talking about showing what team that they're on and showing what side that they're on. Is that's a telegraph. If they're going to deploy that language too, if you got Srozi who's calling the DSA folks communists in the same language, the same register that Donald Trump is doing it, that's telling you more about them than it's saying about their targets. And so you got to be clear. We talk about this a lot in the book, and I talk about it a lot with my students. What work are those words doing? We talk about how it's framing. So we talk about how people massage this stuff. But when somebody is deploying that language, it's doing work for them. And it's helping you understand where they're situated. Because people deploy these things knowing how it's created, knowing how people are going to take it, knowing that it puts you on the outside, it makes you the other. It makes you no longer worthy of being protected by the Constitution,
and
right?
What's more, it makes them inside with the president, with the current president.
Yep, exactly. So I hope that answers the question.
An exercise that I've used for myself to kind of try to become more aware about the language that I am using and not using the language of my opponents, which the language that we use sets the frame of debate, is the terms pro-life and pro-choice, right? I do not say pro-life. It is a slur, right? I've trained my brain. Every time I hear someone say pro-life, I treat it internally like it's a slur because it's a lie, and it's a deadly one, right? If they want to put pro in front of their movement, it's pro-forced birth, right? So you, in your own mind, in your daily life, something that we talk about all the time, you know, the abortion movement, abortion rights, women's autonomy, right? Any time that you think of the words pro-life, reassign it and correct people. Say, no, that's not, they're not pro-life, they're anti-choice. They're anti, right? I used to be a part of an organization called Iraq Veterans Against the War. That word against, it made people reject us, even if they supported us, because of the negative connotations of the word against. People were like, I don't know, that feels icky, right? That's why when I created Veterans Fighting Fascism, it wasn't named Veterans Against Fascism, because it creates this view that feels icky. That's right. Fighting is much more aggressive than against, but people still see it as proactive, right? So with the single issue of abortion, if if you are mindful of that, that can change your whole vocabulary. Like, just being aware that them setting the terms of debate is being done through the language they use. And if you accept the term pro-life as within the bounds of the terms of the debate, like, you're putting yourself in a losing position.
You know, Dave, you have to go up to the Hill all the time to talk about this stuff. I mean, you do this for a living. In terms of
Volunteer.
talking about, well, I mean,
But for yes,
it's a calling, right?
and also if we don't have a country, then yeah, what are we
yeah,
living for?
But I mean that you're talking about this subject, right, the removal of the president, but language is going to matter depending upon whose office you're walking into.
Absolutely.
And so you have to have some advice about how to go ahead and approach that language. You don't have to sort of grant the terms, but you can. But you
Correct.
also have to go ahead and lean into it.
I can't tell you how many times we went into MTG's office when she was still holding office, and we would hand over, here at Flair, we have declarations of support for impeachment that people can sign at any time. And we will hand deliver those declarations every Monday, and then some other events as well. And when I walk into a Republican office, I go in there smiling. Hey, how you doing? Right? You gotta play you do have to speak their language to a certain degree. Because lime accordion's a little different, right? It's a little
Well, I do sometimes pray for them as my message in the prayer.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I've also gone into office and said, you're all going to be held accountable someday. Peacefully, of course, legally, right? I've done both. But generally building relationships with people in person, killing them with kindness, so to speak, gets you a lot further.
But when they're using code words like calling you a communist, then you're outside of. Then that's a whole
Right.
different
Yeah.
conversation.
It's about infiltration.
Yeah.
It's about subversion, right? And using psychology to get. And we had conversations with MTG's staff about impeachment. At first, you know, they rolled their eyes, and then
That's
they
'cause
started
can't speak in complete sentences.
Yeah, right. And then they started saying, "Oh, hey, Dave, what's up? Oh, I got a couple more declarations of support to drop off." Right? Okay, cool. Do you mind getting them in the tally? Congressional offices use a tally system supposedly to keep track of what's important to constituents. And then eventually, we went into some higher level staffers would be sitting in our office, and I'd introduce myself. Kira is very good, you know, we firm handshake. The Republicans love that, right? Alpha male stuff, right? But eventually, the impeachment talk and hey, it's time to get off the Trump train. Specifically, we use those words in that office. Guys, it's time. It's time. I'm sorry. And there's not many dirty libs coming. I've used that too. I know I'm a dirty lib, right? Like,
Wait, what? I don't know if I want to know what that means.
A dirty lib? It's an insult. Yeah, just a dirty lib. Dirty liberal. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm not saying Flair's taking credibility for getting rid of MTG, but it was about the conversation. Normalizing, you gotta go. It's too far. Now, she's self-serving and a traitor to the country, but there was a reason she left.
Have the Democrats let her in yet?
It's a big tent. It's a big tent.
Her and Tucker, the new
Right.
And my
Yeah,
favorite,
we'll see.
my favorite.
But anyway, anyone else want to chime in? Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
I
Yeah.
just have a question for Professor Attiah. Speaking of like language and media, number one, so two things. One, how can we get the media to pay attention? What language can we use to get media to like pay attention to what we're doing? And then that's
Please connect us with all of your data.
yeah. And then on top of that, but that's all I have. But how do we promote media literacy? Which is even, I mean, I feel like it's really tougher because you got to start so young. But how can we get media to pay attention to us?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I mean, so much about media is like you're saying, you know, having some individual relationships, like with the reporters and with the editors. Now, from like a broader structural perspective, at least in my experience when I was at the Post, and this is just historically, when it comes to liberal or left-leaning resistance movements, it's almost like the media is like, huh, what? Like, where? When it comes to Nazis wanting to march, oh my goodness, even if it's 3 of them, they're like, it's headlines, it's also, you know, there's I remember seeing, so I'm from Dallas, and there were the big, No Kings protests and, protests of Trump and around the country, right? And Dallas had their own rally. The Dallas Morning News did not cover it. It was a massive, tens of thousands of people who gathered yards away. I mean, maybe less than a mile away from the Dallas Morning News's offices, and they claimed we had no idea, right? Dallas Morning News has now been owned, or is now owned by owners that are a bit more sympathetic to Trump. Their coverage has been changing. So I think historically, the media has not treated left resistance movements either as a threat, as like an absolute, like we've seen the smearing of peaceful protests. They zero in on one person who throws a rock, and they label the entire protest as violent or at the same level as right-wing political violence, right? So I do think there's a structural challenge there, in the sense that the media caters towards the right wing and covering their demonstrations and rallies perhaps more. I would always say that there's almost a morbid fascination with their threats to destroy and all of that. But that being said, I was listening to y'all before we got on the live stream, and I was hearing about how Flair's protest is the longest running Trump protest.
Yeah.
Y'all need to be loud and bold about that. Like, I think part of it, yes, the media needs to do like, our jobs are to
But we gotta elevate our voices.
Yeah, especially now, with social media, you almost don't really need us. I think that's also part of what the mainstream media is seeing now, that we're seeing the creators, we're seeing you guys being able to link with other independent voices and still get the word out to an extent without media right now. So I also think it's the inside outside game. Yes, of course, would it be nice if the Washington Post covered this? Yes. Realistically, with where the Washington Post is going, first of all, they've gutted their entire local news coverage right now. There are also competitors in that market that are now launching and challenging the Post's dominance of DC politics. So I think in terms of y'all, like, already my editor hat was on, like, oh, people need to know this also because people need to see hope. People need to see what endurance actually looks like. What does it look like to set up a tent, and like the rules that y'all have to navigate around? Like, it's so never sleep. Like, it's so important to tell your story any way, sort of anyhow. And honestly, there's a lot of reason to, frankly, mistrust a mainstream media that has been captured by these forces. Unfortunately, the Post that you knew is gone. We need to accept that, grieve, mourn the losses, bury it for now, and work around that. So the question about media literacy, oh man. I mean, honestly, I wish the U.S. was more like certain European countries in which media literacy is a part of the school curriculum from elementary school on up. Especially now that people are not able to know or trust when something is real or fake. And we haven't even talked about how AI intersects with the constructing language and constructing reality. But now, it's getting into it. It's just going to be tougher. But media literacy, interrogating who the sources are, interrogating the framing that a piece is taking. Honestly, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's going to be harder now, and we see that even the media itself, even when they are found to have made a bad decision and they change the story right in front of your eyes without the transparency behind it. But I do think right now there's a huge opportunity. Frankly, I think people want to feel like they can trust what they're seeing and reading. It's just with technology morphing so quickly that even experts are not able to tell when a photo is real or not, or when, and also we have these algorithms that are rewarding. They're not rewarding truth. They're rewarding engagement and all that. We don't have the legal infrastructure yet to preserve our, what do I say? Preserve our information climate. We're being polluted right now. All that being said, it's not that it's a lost cause, I'm not trying to say that, but I do think it's something that has to start at the edge, like in schools, actually. I mean, I do what I can to teach, but I feel like it's all remedial. It's all and not just that, but I even as a trained journalist, I feel like I have to be extremely on guard and cautious with what I share and what I read now. So I'm even...
It's easy. It's easy to fall for shit. You know, you see a picture and you're like, oh,
AI,
you gotta double, triple check this.
And I mean, even beyond AI or before that, let's say you take stories which are, oh, such and such study revealed that, let's take, I don't know, a piece on challenging green energy or something like that. Like, oh, a study says that actually green energy is not that great. And you just see the studies and you just see the statistics. Never knowing that the study was paid for by the ultimate polluters.
We see that with the New York Times and their coverage of the trans community, especially trans youth, and all their citations are from anti-trans scientist groups.
So this is where I think that it's a the media itself, I have always said, is one of the most unaccountable institutions that we have. I see it all the time where stories be wrong or challenged, right? And increasingly over my time at the Post got rid of its public editor, standards editor, whose job it was to sort of investigate when things do go wrong. They stop that. The Post used to write media stories about itself, about when they stop that. So in a lot of ways, I think a lot about media accountability, the media that got us into the Iraq War. All those people are still sitting on cable TV, have not been shamed into changing. Or a place like the Washington Post that is put in their AI stories. What was it the other day? One of their AI agents platformed a writer who used to write for a neo-Nazi platform, and that was just through AI with no oversight. But who's going to hold the Post accountable for that, for that sort of damage? So sometimes when I think about political accountability and all that, I'm accountability, thinking throughout all of our estates of society, what would holding media accountability when they get things wrong, what would that actually look like? And it's a tough question. It's a tough question.
Because you mentioned something before that I think is interesting about how quickly our culture has shifted. That this really important point you made about shame. Shame, there's a kind of values-based accountability in shame and integrity. And without having, the historical point, you didn't have no shame, is something that used to be a thing.
This is why I think the techno-fascists, especially introducing AI and computation, means you get to bypass that. Right? You get to offset the shame that you would have onto, oops, sorry, the algorithm, or oops, that was a hallucination, right? That we still have not yet embedded what accountability looks like when increasingly you can blame tech or blame the bots, or Jeff Bezos is saying he's willing to gut the Washington Post, and he's like, well, the data says that this is what we need to do, right? How do you hold that accountable? So all that to say, that's why as much as possible, those who are on the inside try to be media critics. I think that actually journalists are important, but I think people who are great media critic writers to help us understand why, again, the New York Times and it's how the New York Times helped get us into this oppressive environment for trans people. I again, we need to imagine, what does holding an institution like that accountable, like, what would that look like?
Yeah.
What would
The lack of shame.
Yeah, but my,
Shame expert
my,
right here.
my friend Olufemi Taiwo says this on this guy, shout out to him, but he's just like, bring back shame. Also, like, there is value in virtue signaling. Like, when people keep saying, oh, you're just virtue signaling, I'm like, actually, that's good. It's good to model good behavior.
I have some concerns about that with Congress specifically right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched a video yesterday of Brian Mast, who's congressman, the one who was an IDF soldier, wore it in the halls of the Capitol, wore his IDF uniform. But he tried to provoke a citizen who was questioning him into violence. What are you going to do about it? Come on, do something. And the guy said, you're a member of Congress. I'm not trying to instigate anything with you. Why? Come on, do something. I personally had Tim Burchett a couple weeks ago. I went up and asked him why he skipped his meeting with Pam Bondi. There was the oversight hearing that was held conveniently during a recess. 0 Republicans showed up, and I saw Ted Burchett and said, Ted, why'd you skip your meeting? He said, I was at your garage sale. And it was just so easy for him to try to insult. I'm still confused about what the insult was.
Was it literal? Did you have a garage?
I think
Whose
the goal
garage
was,
sale?
I'm making you so poor that you have to sell your possessions for pennies. But I'm not sure how
These
that.
people aren't very good at this.
No,
Are they?
but the point is, like, you're an elected representative, and I literally just asked you why you skipped a meeting about arguably America's worst cover-up of all time.
Yep.
That's involving pedophiles.
Yep.
And your response is like a quick attempt at a Twitter jab. And what are we doing? How do you have a job? And just the lack of shame has me concerned lately, because they're just being they're not even pretending to give a shit.
They're performing for their audience.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
They're performing for Twitter is the problem.
Yeah.
They're performing for the 1-minute soundbite.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I've got Tad's stream going here, and one of your followers asked, do you think there's a way that President Trump and his followers in Congress could try to not seat newly elected representatives? And this kind of ties to, I think, earlier some conversation around language and labeling we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been thinking about particularly since the other night, what happened in the New York primaries, and again, the same exact day as the sentences came down in Texas about the defendants, it's using the exact same language of identifying those defendants as being part of the Antifa army, that they are not just that they are part of an anarchist organized opposition to bring down this United States government, that they are organized, they are funded, they are violent, and they are classified as domestic terrorists, building on the executive order. It's a specific classification that the Department of Justice deployed against them. That is a new finding for domestic terrorism. Now, it has never really been proved because nobody could in fact prove it. Antifa doesn't exist, as an institution. However, they were able to go ahead and construct this fiction this reality out of nothing. This possibility out of an impossibility that they turned into a legal reality that clearly Antifa now exists. These people have just been convicted as being a part of it. But the problem is, on the exact same day, Trump and members of the administration and now members of the Democratic Party are using the exact same language, but they started the same day against the winners of the primaries in New York City, against the Mamdani slate. Now, wherever you are in democratic socialism is beyond the point. They are still, these are the insurgents who are threatening the establishment. But the main point being is that what Trump used as the same language against the Texas defendants, they're using against these candidates now, who, because these are mostly blue areas, are most certainly going to win. So here's the scenario, which is altogether possible because there are precedents in American history to do that. If these candidates are now identifiable members of what could be labeled an anti-fascist cell, and therefore domestic terrorists possibly, you can question their credentials. come January, they could show up and say, "Yo, hold on, I'm going to give you a second." So that you say that you could show up and say, "Wait a second, that because you are associated with a domestic terrorist cell, we first have to clear your credentials before we will let you sit." This has happened before in American history, and if the margin is 4, 5, 6, 7, that's possible, and that's just work. That's just the clerk working with leadership. Right.
Yeah, well, I was just confirming that I come from Maryland, and we're supposed to be a blue state. We're supposed to be a blue state, but the Democrats in Maryland are buying into this narrative about the electeds in New York. They're buying into it.
Wow.
And then my friends are buying into it, and I'm saying no, they're pushing the Democratic Party forward.
Right. Yeah, but the narrative is now is what Karen pointed out. They have been put on the outside. This language is doing that work. It's putting them on the outside, and the minute they're on the outside, then you can get away with almost anything. And I think that's the danger. So whoever asked the question, I appreciate it. That's the danger. And so when you see how quickly that's happening, then that's a real problem. And this is new. This is the last couple of days.
And it's a nationwide, even, I feel like I keep talking about my ex, the Washington Post. But, you know, how frightened they are of what's happening in New York. Like, I'm like, why is the Post writing all sorts of editorials about that and all this stupid stuff? They are terrified that this could be a model for what America could look like. A mayor that loves his city, a mayor that actually freezes rent, a mayor that actually is going to tax the rich. Like, they're terrified, right? So in some ways, sometimes it's a signal to pay attention to what they're constantly attacking. It's a signal to which, like, to where you can see, like, okay, this is a threat to them. Why? How do we multiply it?
It's in fact because one, the Democrats also want a white supremacist nation.
Correct. Yep.
That's when we sort of talk about the establishment, those who exist to go ahead and legitimize, perpetuate the current power structure, right? Because we were talking about before is that there's nothing more intoxicating than having access to power. And so what do you want to do? You just want to keep it. You don't want to do anything with it because that would involve the risk of losing it. You know, when I started working in the Senate in 1996, one of the things that we realized when we got there for our boss was 6-year terms, and we kept getting well, we can't do that because we need to get past the election challenge. We can't do this until we get a year in, until we got to get our fundraising base going. We can't do this because I'm just a freshman. We can't do any of these things. You're always waiting for the next term. But then the question is, well, I can't do this until I run for re-election. And so you're always pushing that because once you're in the club, you want to stay in it. And so that's when we think that that makes it actually a non-partisan question.
Right.
These are just folks who have access to power and they want to keep it. And it simplifies. I hope it doesn't oversimplify, but I think it simplifies the conversation. You can change the language.
Hi, I'm Sue, and I'm here from Oregon.
You're a veteran, Louise?
Pardon?
You're a veteran?
No, actually, well, yes, in a sense.
Well,
because, yeah, I'm wearing this for a specific reason, because then when I look at the military guys who seem to be hanging out
Well,
here,
how many veterans are there?
yeah, and so actually I've been in a war zone ever since I popped out of my mom's womb, and now it's getting even worse. But I came here specifically to lobby about move to amend the constitutional amendment, but I'm much better at having my boots on the ground, and sometimes inconvenient. Like here in D.C., they've thrown me in jail and gassed me and all those good things they do to people who don't speak the right language. So I'm here, and I think tomorrow there's something at Malcolm X's place, so I'll be at that. And so that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Move to Amend is one of Flair's partners. Well, we work closely with Move to Amend.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Do you want to explain what Move to Amend is?
Yeah, so Move to Amend is an organization. They will go to movetoamend.org for better explanation than I can get. basically they're advocating for a constitutional amendment to outlaw money in politics, get rid of Citizens United, to have publicly funded elections so we don't get these just billionaires in power.
And to
things
overthrow that Citizens United program.
Yeah. and there's things like down in Georgia, I know for our friend Bree, it costs $5,000 for her to register to run. $5,000, whereas in Maryland, I think it's like $50. Yeah. So there's these barriers to people that to represent their communities. So that's one of the things that Move to Amend is trying to combat. Definitely check them out. They're great.
So
Real quick
I will
here.
Try to keep in touch, except I think I better die right now.
Do you have water?
I have water. Okay.
Don't die.
Please don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's already 3:30, folks. But I just wanted to give everyone. I just want to say thank you on behalf of
Yeah,
Flair. Thank you everyone for being here sincerely, and I'm really excited to see how we can uplift each other's voices even more, right? And resist, right? Just talk real quick about next week, right?
Yeah, so next week we have a
This is the
week.
counter
Yeah.
to what's happening on the mall. We decided we were going to resist by having a counter program.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to.
No, you go.
step on-
Swap out.
So
Swap out.
next week we're doing it's called 7 Days in DC, and it's a week of democracy in action. So starting tomorrow, we're going to have people coming into town, but Monday we're going to start off with things like protest safety, de-escalation, and then protest to power. What does it mean? How do we take the energy from protesting and turn it into real sustainable change? So we have classes like that. We actually have an improv class that's coming in to teach people to be comfortable going in and talking to their representatives and to work that muscle out.
And we're going also Monday. We are going up to the hill
we will
on
be
Tuesday
lobbying.
and Wednesday.
Yep, we'll be lobbying every single day.
Start here and we walk up together. It's power in numbers, right?
We have a Black Candidates Forum on Wednesday down at We Act Radio, talking about the Black experience running for Congress or running for political office or being in political office.
A mutual aid fair on Monday.
Yep.
And entertainment at night.
Yeah.
So,
Drink some music
Come
and celebrating
together.
life, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
it's not all serious.
Very interesting panel about the First Amendment that will prove to be more interesting very shortly.
So we have actually two more things. So we have the Next Systems from George Mason University is going to be coming in, and they're going to lead us through a conversation about where we are now and how we get to a more sustainable, equitable democracy. And then we're also on Tuesday, having a First Amendment panel, including me, Amanda McDonald, Cats on a Couch, and a few,
Jolly?
No, Jolly's not going to be here. It's going to be moderated by Elizabeth
Booker Square.
And there's going to be a few other ones, but there's going to be some.
Oh, then
cool
wrestling.
announcements.
Wrestling with Robbie Roadsteamer. Jolly's going to be at that one, correct?
Yeah, he'll be
Jolly
at that
Good Ginger will be at that one. That's on.
Is it the algae wrestling?
She will be there.
Yeah.
Team
That's on
Algae
Wednesday.
will be there. She's a great friend.
I saw a post about that.
Yeah.
Or Thursday.
Yes. Chelsea Gods as well.
Chelsea Gods. Yep.
But then also the culmination will be on our 250 birthday of our imperfect union.
Yeah.
But
Is it-
On the July 9th action at Supreme Court, Popular Democracy.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. I'll be there. Plus, part indivisible.
yeah, great.
And just want to make sure, Indivisible has been trying to get Democratic candidates. And I go to the meeting every Thursday. And the Democratic candidates they're backing are the Nadamis of the world. They're not just backing any Democrat. They're insistent that they don't want the regular Democrat that's going to keep the establishment. So, just wanted to clarify.
Talk to Ezra and Leah about impeachment. We're trying to get Ezra and Leah and they don't want to talk about it. So they don't want to talk about it.
No, they think right now there's.
No, even afterwards they don't want to talk about it. They're not pro impeachment. So that's just one recommendation. Anyway, folks, it's almost been hour and a half here. Thank you for coming, guys. This is so cool. I'm thinking maybe a picture of all this, right? And then I think some of us maybe might just mosey down to the state fair to get some footage and just
watch some white nationalists do their
Surely
thing.
not some food.
Mock them,
Shit.
you know?
Got to celebrate that white pride month.
Yeah, white pride for sure. That's what made America great.
That's what I want to do.
You're still live. I had to plug you in so you didn't die.
Oh, thanks. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Gotta go.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for listening. We're going to be back later for the 7 p.m. event. So keep on listening. Keep on checking in. Hold on.
Everyone, at any time.
If you hear that, you're invited. You're invited here to the Flare site anytime you want. Thank you everyone for listening in. You'll see me again later. Have a great afternoon until then. Thanks y'all.